Oh, great galactic spirits. Another parade in my honor. Another 1,000 admirers screaming my name. Another day of being the most sought-after female in the Andromeda Coalition. Princess Vyra. Princess Vyra. We love you. I wave my four-fingered hand gracefully from the hovering platform, my luminescent skin catching the light of 3 suns, making me sparkle like the stars themselves. The crowd went wild. Of course they did. I'm practically a goddess to them. Well, technically I am. Being the daughter of the Supreme Commander of the Andromeda Coalition does that to your social status. Being born with rare genetic mutations that make you the perfect specimen of beauty in 12 different planetary systems. That's just a cherry on top of my already overflowing sundae of privileges. Your Radiance, we are approaching the Grand Plaza. My bodyguard, Dorax, a 7-foot mountain of muscle and loyalty, leaned toward me. The diplomatic reception will begin in 20 minutes. I sighed dramatically, making sure my gill-like respiratory openings fluttered in that way the paparazzi loves to capture. Another reception with another parade of suitors who think they are worthy of my hand? How thrilling. Dorax's 4 eyes blinked sequentially, his species equivalent of an eye roll. The Supreme Commander specifically mentioned that the Xyrillian Prince has traveled 3 star systems to meet you. The Xyrillian Prince? The one with tentacles where his mouth should be? Pass. He controls the largest dilithium mining operation in the quadrant. Double pass. I have seen how they eat. Not interested in being slurped to death on my wedding night. The hovering platform docked at the Grand Plaza, a massive open-air venue with architecture defying several laws of physics. Crowds gathered behind force fields, straining to catch a glimpse of me. I stepped off the platform with practiced grace, my ceremonial robes flowing behind me in a display that cost more than some planet's defense budgets. A.S. I entered the reception hall. A hush fell over the gathered dignitaries. Ambassadors from 47 worlds, representatives from 12 multi-planetary corporations, and at least 30 potential suitors, all fallen silent at my arrival. I'm not being conceited, it's just fact. I have that effect on people. The Xyrillian Prince approached first, his facial tentacles wiggling in what I assume was meant to be an attractive display. Beside him stood the Quaxen High Priestess, her crystalline exoskeleton clicking nervously. Behind them, the Draconian warlord's 3 heads were all staring in different directions, a sign of extreme interest in their culture. Princess Vyra, your beauty outshines the combined luminosity of the Crab Nebula. The Xyrillian Prince gurgled through his translator. I smiled politely. How original. Did you practice it on your 3-week journey here? The prince's tentacles drooped slightly. The Quaxen High Priestess stepped forward. Your Radiance. My hive would be honored by your consideration. We offer 13 star systems and the secrets of temporal manipulation. Before I could formulate a suitably dismissive response, the reception hall doors burst open. A commotion erupted near the entrance, and several security officers rushed forward. What now? I muttered to Dorax. Another assassination attempt? That would at least make this evening somewhat interesting. Dorax's upper eyes narrowed, while his lower ones continued scanning the room. Unexpected guests. Earth delegation. I perked up immediately. Earth? The primitive planet that just achieved faster-than-light travel? Why would they be invited to a high-profile diplomatic event? They weren't, Dorax replied, his hand moving to his disintegrator pistol. But apparently your father granted them special permission after they saved a Proximan freighter from a wormhole collapse. Now, that was interesting. Humans were the newest members of the interstellar community, barely 100 years since they'd ventured beyond their solar system. They were considered quaint, primitive, and utterly fascinating by most of the galaxy. Their unpredictable nature and bizarre social customs made them popular subjects for reality entertainment programs. The disruption continued as 4 humans were escorted into the reception hall. 3 wore formal diplomatic attire, stiff, uncomfortable-looking uniforms with ridiculous amounts of decorative medals pinned to them. But the fourth human wore what appeared to be casual clothing by their standards. A simple dark garment covering the torso and lower limbs, with an open collar revealing a patch of skin near the neck. Dark hair, slightly unkempt. A face with features that weren't particularly remarkable by human standards, I supposed. But there was something about the way this human moved. Confident without arrogance. Present without demanding attention. And those eyes, a strange bluish-green shade that reminded me of the sacred pools on Vendara Prime. "Who is that?" I asked, unable to look away. Dorax consulted his neural interface. "The three in uniform are Earth's diplomatic corps. The fourth is listed as a technical consultant. Name, Jordan Rexton. Specialty, xenolinguistics and cultural integration. A linguist." I raised an eyebrow. Why would they bring a linguist to a reception where everyone has universal translators? Perhaps they don't trust our technology, Dorax suggested. Or perhaps they are smarter than they look. I murmured, watching as the human named Jordan observed the room with intelligent eyes. Those eyes suddenly met mine, and I felt an unexpected flutter in my secondary cardiovascular system. Did this human just make my heart skip? Impossible. The Earth delegation approached, led by their senior diplomat, a gray-haired female who walked with rigid posture. "Supreme Princess Vyra," she began, performing a well-rehearsed bow. "The United Earth Alliance extends its gratitude for your hospitality. I am Ambassador Takada. May I present Deputy Ambassador Wilson, Cultural Attaché Park, and our linguistic specialist, Dr. Jordan Rexton." I barely acknowledged the diplomats, my attention fixed on the specialist. "Dr. Rexton, you don't look like a doctor." The human's lips curved upward. "And you don't look like someone who's enjoying her own party. Your radiance." Gasps echoed around us. No one spoke to me with such casual disregard for protocol. I should have been offended. I should have had this impertinent creature removed immediately. Instead, I laughed. A genuine laugh that I hadn't experienced in decades. "Careful, human," I said, stepping closer. "In some cultures, such honesty toward royalty is punishable by having your internal organs rearranged." Jordan didn't flinch. "In my culture, we call it cutting through the bull, part of my Earth expression, and I have always found it saves time." "Does it now?" I circled the human slowly, taking in every detail. "And what else does your culture value, Dr. Rexton?" "Authenticity, connection, finding common ground even among the stars." The Zurillian prince cleared his throat sacs loudly. "Princess Vyra, perhaps we should continue our discussion about the dilithium mining rights." I waved my hand dismissively. "Later, Prince, whatever your name is. I'm engaging in cultural exchange with our new galactic neighbors." The Earth ambassador looked mortified. "Dr. Rexton, please remember diplomatic protocols. Your Radiance, please forgive our specialist directness. Earth culture is still adapting to interstellar etiquette. No forgiveness necessary," I replied, not taking my eyes off Jordan. "In fact, I find it refreshing. Dr. Rexton, would you care to walk with me through the Celestial Gardens? I'm suddenly interested in learning more about Earth linguistics." The ambassador's eyes widened in panic. "Your Radiance, there are scheduled negotiations, which can wait," I interrupted. "Dr. Rexton, unless you are afraid to be alone with an alien princess." Jordan smiled, that curious smile again. "Not afraid. Just wondering why the most important person in the room will want to talk to the least important one." "Perhaps because importance is relative," I replied, offering my arm in the Earth custom I'd studied. "And perhaps because you're the only person here who sees me as something other than a prize to be won or an alliance to be secured." Jordan hesitated for just a moment before taking my arm. "Lead the way, your Radiance. Call me Vyra," I said, feeling a strange thrill as we walked away from the stunned gathering. "Just Vyra." The Celestial Gardens were my favorite place in the palace. An anti-gravity arboretum containing plant species from hundreds of worlds, floating in harmonious patterns, their bioluminescence creating a living light show that changed with the emotional atmosphere of those walking through it. As Jordan and I entered, the plants shifted from their formal diplomatic blue to a curious purple I'd never seen them display before. "They are responding to us," Jordan observed, reaching out toward a floating cluster of Venusian fire ferns that seemed unusually drawn to the human's presence. "They respond to emotional energy," I explained, but I have never seen this particular pattern before. What does it mean? I'm not entirely sure, I admitted, watching as the plants seemed to dance around us. But I think they are intrigued, as am I. Jordan looked at me with those penetrating eyes. May I ask you something that might be considered impertinent by your standards? You have already proven yourself quite skilled at impertinence. Why stop now? Why did you bring me here? Out of all the powerful, influential beings at that reception, I considered deflecting with humor or royal condescension. But something about this human made me want to be honest. Because you're the first person in over a century who's looked at me and seen me. Not the princess, not the genetic marvel, not the political asset. Just Vyra. Jordan nodded slowly. I understand what it's like to be seen for what you represent rather than who you are. Do you? I raised an eyebrow, skeptically. You are from a barely spacefaring civilization. What could you possibly know about the burden of galactic politics? The scale is different, but the feeling is the same, Jordan replied, stopping to observe a cluster of telepathic orchids that were mimicking our conversation through subtle color changes. Back on Earth, I was always the prodigy. The kid who could learn any language in weeks, who could decode ancient scripts that had stumped scholars for centuries. I was never just Jordan. I was what I could do, what I could provide. I felt an unexpected connection forming. It's exhausting, isn't it? Being a resource instead of a person. Completely exhausting, Jordan agreed. That's why I volunteered for this mission. Out here among the stars, I thought I might find somewhere I could just... And have you? Found that place. Jordan looked at me with unexpected warmth. I'm beginning to think I might have. The air between us seemed to charge with something I couldn't name. The garden plants responded immediately, shifting to a deep crimson that pulsed like a heartbeat. Well, that's never happened before, I murmured, watching the display with fascination. What does red signify in your culture? Jordan asked. Much the same as in yours, I imagine. Passion. Intensity. I paused, suddenly feeling vulnerable. Danger. Which one do you think the plants are warning us about? Perhaps all three. We continued walking, and I found myself sharing things I'd never told anyone. My frustrations with royal life, my secret passion for ancient poetry, my longing to explore beyond the protected boundaries of my existence. Jordan listened without judgment, occasionally offering insights that revealed a depth of understanding I hadn't expected from a human. In turn, I learned about Earth's complex history, about Jordan's childhood in a place called New Zealand, about the human's passion for connecting cultures across seemingly insurmountable differences. Time slipped away until Dorax's voice came through my personal communicator. Your Radiance, the Supreme Commander, is asking for your presence at the formal dinner. It begins in 10 minutes. I sighed, genuinely disappointed. It seems our cultural exchange must be paused, Dr. Rexton. Jordan, the human corrected gently. If I'm to call you Vyra, you should call me Jordan. Jordan, I repeated, enjoying the way the name felt. You will attend the dinner, of course. I wasn't invited. The Earth delegation has been assigned to the secondary diplomatic banquet. I frowned. That's unacceptable. You will be my personal guest. Won't that cause a diplomatic incident? Probably, I admitted with a mischievous smile. But I'm rather good at those. Besides, I'm the princess. Who's going to stop me? As we made our way back toward the palace, Jordan suddenly stopped, looking up at the night sky. I still can't believe I'm here, standing on an alien world, under unfamiliar stars, talking to a... The human paused. A what? I prompted. A fascinating person, Jordan finished. Royal title aside. Something warm bloomed in my chest at those words. Come, Jordan of Earth. Let's go scandalize some diplomats. The formal dinner was everything I expected. Tedious speeches, thinly veiled political maneuvering, and open staring when I entered with Jordan at my side. Princess Vyra, my father's voice carried across the grand hall as we entered. I see you have brought an unexpected guest. The Supreme Commander of the Andromeda Coalition was an imposing figure, tall even by our species standards, with ceremonial bioarmor that amplified his already considerable presence. 6 royal guards flanked him, their neural weapons humming softly. Father, I inclined my head respectfully. I have invited Dr. Jordan Rexton to join us. We have been having the most illuminating discussion about interspecies cultural integration. My father's secondary eyes narrowed. Never a good sign. Have you indeed? And was this discussion so important that it justified missing the ceremonial reception for the Zurillian delegation? Absolutely. I replied without hesitation. In fact, I believe the insights from our Earth friends might prove invaluable to our understanding of emerging civilizations. I could tell my father wasn't buying it, but centuries of political maneuvering had taught him not to create scenes. Very well, Dr. Rexton may join us. But remember, daughter, that certain expectations must be met this evening. The warning was clear. This was supposed to be the night I finally selected a suitor from among the gathered dignitaries, or at least narrowed down the candidates to a politically advantageous shortlist. Instead, I'd spent my time with a human who offered me nothing in terms of alliance benefits, technological advancements, or genetic compatibility. A human who made my hearts race for reasons I couldn't explain as we took our seats at the high table. Jordan placed beside me despite the obvious disapproval of several ambassadors. I leaned close to the human's ear. Fair warning, I whispered. This evening was supposed to be when I chose a potential mate from among the gathered representatives of advanced civilizations. Jordan's eyes widened slightly, and instead you are sitting with a primitive human. No wonder everyone looks ready to disintegrate me with their glares. Let them glare, I said, feeling recklessly defiant. For the first time in centuries, I'm enjoying myself. Before Jordan could respond, the Zurillian prince approached our table, his tentacles writhing with barely contained indignation. Princess Vyra, he gurgled through his translator, I must express my concern over your choice of companion for this sacred selection ceremony. The human species has barely mastered rudimentary space travel. They have no significant resources to offer the coalition. Their genetic lineage is unremarkable. What possible justification could there be for their presence at this table? I smiled sweetly at him. Perhaps, Prince Zurillian, there is value in perspectives that aren't clouded by millennia of political calculation. The prince's tentacles darkened with anger. This is an insult to all who have traveled here in good faith. On the contrary, Jordan interjected smoothly. It's an honor to witness such an important cultural event. The princess has been incredibly generous in sharing insights about coalition customs. As Earth's linguistic and cultural specialist, this opportunity is invaluable for fostering better understanding between our peoples. The diplomatic response seemed to catch the prince off guard. His tentacles relaxed slightly as he processed the human's words. Your species has a reputation for being unpredictable, the prince finally said. Perhaps that is what the princess finds temporarily diverting. With that backhanded acknowledgement, he retreated to his seat. Jordan leaned toward me. Did I just get called a passing amusement? More or less, I confirmed, hiding my smile behind my drinking vessel. But you handled it well. Most non-diplomats would have been intimidated by a Zurillian prince in full tentacle display. I have faced scarier things teaching undergraduate linguistics at Princeton, Jordan quipped. The formal dinner progressed with the expected pageantry. Gifts were presented, alliances proposed, genetic compatibility charts displayed on floating holographic screens. All for my benefit, all to win my favor. And there I sat, barely paying attention, completely captivated by the stories of a planet I'd never visited, told by a human whose species was considered little more than an evolutionary curiosity by most of the gathered dignitaries. You mean your oceans cover most of your planet, but you have explored less than 5% of them? I asked, genuinely fascinated. Jordan nodded. We know more about the surface of Mars than the bottom of our own seas. Ironic for a species so determined to explore outward, isn't it? It's charming, I replied. The contradiction of it, the humanity of it. The draconian warlord's middle head snorted derisively. Charming? Their primitive nature is merely evidence they should be guided by more advanced civilizations. Princess Vyra, my empire could provide your coalition with 15 battlecruisers and exclusive rights to the quantum tunneling technology we have perfected. I turned to him with a cold smile. And in exchange, you'd expect merely the honor of your hand in union. All three heads replied in unsettling unison. Our genetic analysts have determined our compatibility could produce offspring of unprecedented psychic potential. How romantic, I said dryly. Nothing sets my hearts aflutter like a good genetic analysis chart. Jordan suppressed a laugh, which earned a glare from all three of the warlords' heads. My father cleared his throat, a sound that could silence an entire council chamber. Perhaps, daughter, you might entertain the draconian proposal? Their quantum tunneling technology would give us a significant advantage in the ongoing nebula disputes. I straightened my posture, switching into the royal diplomatic mode I'd perfected over centuries. The Coalition values its relationship with the Draconian Empire, of course. However, quantum tunneling technology has proven unstable in 13% of applications, resulting in localized reality fractures. The risk assessment doesn't justify the strategic advantage. The warlords' heads all began speaking at once in protest, but I continued smoothly. Perhaps a technology exchange focused on non-military applications would better serve both our civilizations? My father looked impressed, despite himself. I might have been ignoring my royal duties to chat with a human, but I still remembered my strategic briefings. The princess raises a valid concern, my father acknowledged. Perhaps we should adjourn to discuss modified terms? As the diplomatic corps led the flustered warlord away, Jordan leaned close to me. That was impressive. You know more about quantum physics than most Earth scientists. Don't let it intimidate you, I teased. I'm only 273 of your Earth years old. I have had plenty of time to study. Jordan's expression shifted to genuine surprise. 200 and... You look like you are in your 20s by human standards. Flattery, I said with a laugh. My species' average lifespan is approximately 12 of your centuries. I'm barely an adult, so I'm having dinner with an alien princess who's also a genius and practically immortal by human standards. Jordan shook his head in wonder. Not how I expected this diplomatic mission to go. And how did you expect it to go? I asked, genuinely curious. Honestly, I expected to be ignored, to sit quietly taking notes while the real diplomats handled the important discussions. Earth is the newcomer at this table. We have very little to offer compared to civilizations that have been spacefaring for millennia. I tilted my head, studying Jordan's face. You are wrong, you know. Your perspective is precisely what makes you valuable. You see things differently. You haven't been conditioned by centuries of galactic politics. Is that why you have chosen to spend your evening with me, instead of selecting one of these impressive suitors? I glanced around the grand hall at the powerful beings from across the galaxy who had journeyed here specifically to court me. Any one of them could offer me resources, technology, or political advantages beyond imagination. Yet none of them made me feel the way I felt right now, talking to this short-lived, technologically primitive human. Perhaps I'm tired of impressive, I admitted. Perhaps I find authenticity more appealing than power. Before Jordan could respond, a loud commotion erupted at the entrance to the dining hall. Royal guards rushed forward, weapons at the ready, as an unauthorized ship landed on the ceremonial platform outside. Vyra, my father was suddenly at my side, his personal shield generator activating around us both. Security breach. Move to the safe room immediately. What's happening? I demanded as Dorax appeared, positioning his massive form protectively in front of me. Unidentified vessel breached our defensive grid, Dorax reported tersely. Not responding to communications. I turned to Jordan, who looked alarmed but not panicked. Stay close to me. Shouldn't I rejoin my delegation? The human asked. No time, I said, grabbing Jordan's arm. You are under my protection now. As we moved toward the secure exit, the doors of the banquet hall burst open. A figure stood silhouetted against the bright lights from outside. Tall, slender, with a configuration similar to my own species, but subtly different. Raxxon forces, someone screamed, and panic erupted. The Raxxons. Our ancient enemies from the dark region beyond the galactic spiral. We've been at war with them for so long that most citizens couldn't remember how it started. The peace treaty had been signed barely 50 years ago, a fragile truce that had already been tested multiple times. Princess Vyra, the Raxxon called out, its voice harmonizing in the multi-tonal speech pattern of their kind. We claim audience by ancient right. The royal guards formed a protective circle around me, but I stepped forward. I recognized the ancient right. State your purpose, Raxxon. The figure advanced into the light, revealing features that mirrored my own, but with sharper angles and skin that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. I am Prince Nyx of the Raxxon Sovereign, he announced. I have come to claim what was promised. My father's expression darkened. Nothing was promised to the Raxxon Sovereign. The treaty established boundaries, not entitlements. Prince Nyx smiled, revealing teeth designed for tearing rather than chewing. The treaty included a sealed addendum, revealed only after 50 cycles. Today marks the 50th cycle. He raised a crystalline data sphere that projected ancient text into the air, text bearing my father's signature glyph. What is this? I demanded, turning to my father. For the first time in my life, I saw uncertainty in the Supreme Commander's eyes. A contingency to ensure lasting peace. The terms are clear, Prince Nyx continued, his eyes fixed on me with predatory focus. To seal the permanent alliance between our civilizations, the heir of the Andromeda Coalition shall be joined with the heir of the Raxxon Sovereign. Horrified understanding dawned on me. You promised me in marriage? Without my knowledge or consent. It was necessary, my father said quietly. Millions of lives were at stake. The war had devastated entire systems. How convenient that this clause remained secret until this moment. I hissed, anger building within me, until I was paraded before every other suitable match in the galaxy. Prince Nyx approached, his movements unnaturally fluid. The timing is precisely as agreed. You have had freedom to explore other options, but destiny brings you to where you were always meant to be, at my side, uniting our civilizations. I felt Jordan's hand slip into mine, a small gesture of support that somehow steadied me. And if I refuse? I asked coldly. Then the treaty is void, Prince Nyx replied simply. And we resumed the conflict that nearly destroyed both our peoples. The room fell into stunned silence. Diplomats exchanged horrified glances. My father looked genuinely pained, something I'd never witnessed before. You can't seriously expect her to agree to this. Jordan spoke up suddenly. All eyes turned to the human. Prince Nyx regarded Jordan with amused curiosity. And what species are you, small one? I don't recognize your biosignature. Human, Jordan answered, stepping forward despite my attempt to keep the humans safely behind me. From Earth. Ah, the new arrivals, Prince Nyx nodded. Interesting that you have been permitted at such a high-level gathering. Your kind is barely space-capable. Yet somehow we have managed to develop concepts your supposedly advanced civilization seems to have missed, Jordan replied evenly. Like consent, free will, the right to choose one's own destiny. The prince's expression hardened. You speak of matters beyond your understanding, human. This is about survival, not sentiment. Is it? Jordan challenged. Because it looks a lot like coercion to me. The tension in the room was palpable. I could see royal guards calculating trajectories, diplomats edging toward exits, my father's jaw clenching with barely contained fury. And suddenly, with perfect clarity, I knew what I had to do. I propose an alternative, I said, my voice cutting through the tension. All attention shifted to me. The treaty specifies an alliance sealed by union between our heirs. I began, legal training clicking into place. It does not specify which heir of the Andromeda Coalition must fulfill this obligation. My father frowned. Vyra, you are my only child. By birth, yes, I agreed, but not by law. I turned to face the assembled dignitaries. Coalition law permits the designation of an heir by royal decree, does it not? The judicial minister, an ancient being with skin like parchment, nodded slowly. This is correct, Your Radiance. The Supreme Commander may designate any individual as heir by formal declaration. I smiled. Then I proposed this solution. Father, you will designate a new heir who will fulfill the treaty obligation. I will pursue other arrangements. Prince Nyx's eyes narrowed. You cannot evade your duty so easily, Princess. I'm not evading anything, I replied calmly. I'm proposing a solution that honors the letter of the treaty while preserving diplomatic relations. Unless, of course, your true motivation isn't peace, but specifically possessing me. The prince's expression confirmed my suspicion. This wasn't about honoring treaties. It was about claiming the most coveted prize in the galaxy. Meet at him, why father stepped forward, suddenly understanding my strategy. The princess's proposal has merit. The treaty language specifies the heir rather than naming Vyra specifically. This is outrageous, Prince Nix hissed. The intent was clear. Intent is irrelevant in treaty law, the judicial minister interjected. Only the precise language of the agreement holds legal weight. For a moment, I thought the Raxxon prince might order an attack then and there. His personal guards tensed, hands moving to weapons. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a sound like shattering crystal. Clever. Very clever. I see why you are so highly valued, Princess Vyra. He turned to my father. Very well, Supreme Commander. You have one planetary rotation to designate your new heir. Choose wisely. With that, he and his entourage retreated toward their ship. As the tension in the room gradually dissipated, replaced by excited chatter and urgent communications, I turned to find Jordan staring at me with undisguised admiration. That was incredible, the human said. You just outmaneuvered an intergalactic treaty violation with a legal loophole. It's what I was trained to do, I replied, though I couldn't help feeling pleased by the praise. Though I have never had to apply those skills quite so dramatically before. My father approached, his expression a complex mixture of pride and concern. Vyra, we need to talk. Privately. I nodded, then turned to Jordan. Will you wait for me? This won't take long. I will be here, Jordan promised. My father led me to his private chamber adjacent to the Great Hall. As soon as the door sealed behind us, he rounded on me. Do you understand what you have done? He demanded. Prevented an unwanted political marriage while maintaining the peace. I suggested. You have rejected the most strategically advantageous alliance in coalition history. An alliance built on deception, I countered. You never told me about this arrangement, father. All these years of diplomatic training, political education, preparation for leadership, and you kept this secret from me. He had the grace to look momentarily ashamed. It was necessary. The Raxxon War had devastated our forces. We needed time to rebuild, to strengthen our position in case the treaty failed. And now? What happens now? My father's expression softened slightly. Now I must choose a new heir, as you so cleverly suggested. Someone willing to make the sacrifice you rejected. I felt a pang of guilt. I'm sorry it came to this. But I cannot, will not, be traded like a commodity, even for the good of the coalition. Because of the human, he asked suddenly that I blinked in surprise. What? Don't play naive, Vyra. I have watched you all evening. In 3 centuries, I have never seen you look at anyone the way you look at that Earth linguist. I wanted to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. Jordan is different. Different, my father repeated. Different enough to risk galactic peace? That's not fair, I protested. I found a solution that preserves the peace. Temporary solution, he corrected. The question remains, what do you want, Vyra? If not the Raxxon Prince, if not any of the suitable matches presented to you tonight, what future do you envision? The question caught me off guard. In all my centuries, no one had ever simply asked me what I wanted. I hesitated, the truth strange even to my own ears. I want the freedom to choose, even if that choice makes no political sense. Even if it means choosing someone with a lifespan barely a fraction of my own. Someone who sees me, not the princess. Understanding dawned in my father's eyes. The human won't live more than a century at most. You'd subject yourself to that loss. Perhaps, I said quietly. But isn't a brief time of genuine connection worth more than centuries of political convenience? To my surprise, my father's expression softened. Your mother would have said the same thing. I stared at him in shock. My mother had died when I was very young. He rarely spoke of her. She was considered an unsuitable match, too, he continued. Too independent. Too questioning of tradition. The council was unanimously against our union. A sad smile touched his lips. The 70 years I had with her were worth more than the 2 centuries since. I'd never heard him speak this way before. "Father, go," he said suddenly. "Go to your human. I will handle the Raxxon situation. But who will you name as heir?" "I have several options," he replied cryptically. "Coalition forces have grown strong during the peace. The Raxxons know this. Prince Nix will accept my choice or risk a war he cannot win." I embraced him, something I hadn't done in decades. "Thank you." When I returned to the Great Hall, I found Jordan engaged in animated conversation with the Venusian ambassador, hands moving expressively as the human explained something about linguistic drift in isolated populations that I paused, taking a moment to simply observe. This odd, fascinating creature from a backwater planet had somehow become the most important person in a room full of the galaxy's elite. At least if sensing my presence. Jordan looked up and smiled. That warm, genuine smile that at first caught my attention, that I made my way through the crowd, which parted automatically before me. "Is everything all right?" Jordan asked as I approached. "Everything is evolving," I replied. "My father and I have reached an understanding. About the Raxxon tree, about that, and other things." I took a deep breath. "Jordan, would you like to see the Celestial Observatory? It offers the best view of your home galaxy from here." Jordan's eyes lit up. "I'd love that." We slipped away from the reception, leaving behind a room full of powerful beings who all wanted me for what I represented. None of them had bothered to discover who I actually was. The observatory was a transparent dome atop the highest spire of the palace, offering an unobstructed view of the cosmos. As we entered, the automated systems recognized my presence and dimmed the ambient lighting, allowing the stellar panorama to take center stage. There, I pointed to a spiral arm of light barely visible at the edge of perception. "That's your Milky Way." Jordan stepped closer to the viewing panel, face filled with wonder. "It's humbling to see it from the outside. That's how I felt the first time I saw Earth in the Coalition archives," I admitted. This tiny blue planet, seemingly insignificant in cosmic terms, yet home to such diversity, such creativity. "Is that why you noticed me at the reception?" Academic interest in Earth. A move to stand beside the human, our reflections ghost-like against the backdrop of stars. "No, I noticed you because when everyone else was trying to impress me, you were simply being yourself." Jordan turned to face me. "You know this is crazy, right? I'm human. You are, well, whatever your species is called." "Luminarian," I supplied with a smile. "Luminarian," Jordan repeated. "We are from different galaxies, different species. I will be dead before you even hit middle age by your standards." "All valid points," I acknowledged. "Very logical, very rational. But logic and rationality have governed every aspect of my existence for centuries. Every decision calculated for maximum political advantage. Every relationship evaluated for strategic benefit." I reached out, hesitantly taking Jordan's hand. "Perhaps it's time I made a decision based on something else entirely." "And what would that be?" Jordan asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Connection," I replied simply. "The rarest resource in my world. Everyone wants to possess me, to claim me, to add me to their collection of assets. No one has ever simply wanted to know me. Until now. Jordan's fingers intertwined with mine, 5 digits to my 4, warm skin against my cooler touch. "So what happens next, Princess Vyra of the Andromeda Coalition?" "That depends," I said, moving closer. "Earth's diplomatic protocols are still somewhat mysterious to me. Would it cause an interstellar incident if I kissed you right now?" Jordan laughed softly. "Probably, but I'm willing to risk it if you are." "Everyone wants me," I whispered, closing the distance between us. "But I want you, human." As our lips met beneath the light of 1 billion distant stars, I felt something I'd never experienced in all my centuries of existence. The exhilarating freedom of choosing my own destiny, regardless of what the galaxy might think. Let them whisper about the princess who chose a human. Let them calculate the political ramifications, the genetic incompatibilities, the temporal disparities. For once in my long life, I wasn't thinking about the future or the past. I was simply present in this perfect moment, with this extraordinary human who had traveled across the stars and somehow found me. And in that moment, all the power and privilege of my royal existence paled in comparison to the simple joy of being truly seen for who I was. Not the princess, not the prize, just Vyra, finding love among the stars.